Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Karjalainen's first no score at Watkins Glen now matches Partanen's at Indy, but the points still lean heavily in favor of Timo for now. Oulton's old-school nature may suit this car well, but it will also be wickedly punishing to any small mistakes. Considering Tolonen's good performance here earlier in the week, will he steal a march on both of them? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you haven't heard of Oulton Park before, you're in for quite a ride. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Oulton Park Circuit. This British track to the southeast of Liverpool is a staple in the UK club racing scene, but has also hosted series as high level as Formula One a few times, at least with a small asterisk next to those events since they were non-championship rounds. The history and the lore of the venue is as unique as the layout itself. But that layout is more than just the international circuit this place is known for. An incredible 8 different versions can be run, but they all range between 1.5 to 2.5 miles in length. It's not exactly a long lap around here. What it lacks in that realm, it more than makes up for in bumps and hills. On top of that, Oulton Park offers some very fast corners, so you certainly won't get bored. Turns like Island Bend, Knickerbrook, and Druids can be utterly fearsome depending on which chicanes are at it. But even the slower corners often involve blind crests or kinked entries, making passing a very difficult prospect. In modern day, the place is mainly visited by touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and Formula 3. But here on iRacing, it's quite popular with the vintage community. Needless to say, this is a track that carries on the British tradition of fast, old-school style circuits that challenge and thrill drivers. It'll no doubt be a blast for both our competitors and fans today. Well, Joey, this may have seen F1 cars way back in the day, but this is, for this type of car, I think a little bit small. How do you think it's going to handle with the 79s here?
It's definitely going to be a packed racetrack. As we look at the Oulton Park track map, here we're located in Little Budworth, Cheshire, England. We're doing the 12-turn layout. That's not going to have any chicanes today. Cars are going to be doing over 160 miles an hour. The big pressure area is going to be down into Knickerbrook, where these cars are going to be doing maximum speed. Watch out as the track gets really narrow down there. Like I said, 2.6 miles in length. All of these competitors will be having to do 32 laps tonight. You mentioned it's going to be really, really narrow at parts. It's going to be really, really fast in some of these flowing corners, but also some really, really small, tighter hairpin stuff that can catch people out really fast, Joe.
No doubt about that. And things have been catching out a couple of our drivers so far this season in the points as well. Karjalainen, though, has been basically leading the way up to this stage. As you can see, he's got about a 32-point gap over Parton, and they both now have to drop around once we get to that stage in the points, as both have a 0 at this point. As Tolinen, though, has been coming in and finally got his first win of the season last time out at Watkins Glen. So he could be someone to watch out for if he's now got the car underneath him. But Michael the Turk's been consistent. We'll see if he can try and keep up with them. For those under the 3,000 I rating, Joey, we also have the F2 driver standings.
Definitely leading the way right now is Thomas Bartfi out there with 80 points, but really there's a good battle between the second place car of Guillermo Diaz and also Mark Salgado there, only 2 points separating them. And then also another big battle there for fourth place between Jack Spickett and Oscar Soltero, only 4 points separating those cars in fourth, fifth position there. As we go down and look, there's Marco Flacker a little bit further out, also Stephen Hobbs, Kristen Shinmei, Nathaniel Porter, and Luca Bracali all in the points there for the top 10.
Now, as for today's race details, 32 laps around here for this halfway mark of the season. As always, it is open setup, but there's no spare car if you wind up getting damaged, which is going to be easy to do out there today. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents as usual, and disqualification at 25, but going to be hard-pressed to try and reach that limit, I got to think here, Joey, considering how easy it is to throw away your race with how close the barriers are.
The barriers are very close. The grass is just right off of the racetrack, and I think that's going to catch quite a few drivers out, as it looks like we're riding on board here with a few cars while they set their qualifying times. About 5 minutes still left in qualifying, so I'm sure we'll get plenty of action right now. Provisional pole is Parton out there with a 112.7 currently.
Unfortunately, sounds like we don't have Timo running here, which is a bit unusual, so he's going to have to take another 0 to his name for this one. But the driver is probably going to be trying to use every race they can, because it has been so close on pace between Karjalainen and Partonen so far this season. The two have been very evenly matched, and at times the races have been coming down to just single slip-ups to decide who takes the win between them. We're watching Partonen right now, who actually, instead of having to catch up to Karjalainen, is trying to catch up to Tolinen, who, if you were able to watch earlier this week for the iRacing Happy Hour, we had a special event for that one on the iRacing official broadcast channel, and Tolinen took the victory in that one. So he's already got a taste of blood there, Joey. I got to think he's going to be coming back to try and make it a repeat this week.
I think so, and I'm loving these onboard shots. You know, I think we take for granted how fast these older cars really were. I mean, you look at how pointy they are. As soon as he turns the wheel, just the front end points in towards the apex, and I have a feeling that in some of these faster corners, that might catch some cars out as just being maybe a little bit unstable, but in these slower turns, man, it makes these cars really hooked up and carve through it.
Certainly do, and right now it looks like as they complete our qualifying laps, Tolinen's only going to put a single one in, and it is still the fastest out there. Partonen was only able to get within about 700ths, and his 2 laps were not going to be quicker. Gernot Friesche is on his second lap. The multi-time champion and winningest driver in the series is still looking for a first win, and man, it's almost been years now, I want to say, since we've seen him top the steps. It just hasn't liked the car in recent times since they changed it a number of seasons ago. We're watching Dylan Freckleton, though, who has yet to set a time. And looks like he is getting ready to set his first lap here in that number 9 machine. Let's see what he does out of Lodge Corner and over Deer Leap. Coming up to the timing line. Let's see what this one is worth. No, it's the start of his first flying lap, it appears. They go so quickly, he's waiting until the very end of the qualifying.
I do like this strategy. If you're confident in your speed and the race car and you know that you can lay down laps without going off track, I like putting the carrot out there. You know, let everybody else go do their lap times. They're sitting around waiting in the pits kind of deal. And all right, who can come out and beat me? But if you're confident, that's great. It kind of gives you a bar to go out and chase.
Really does. And now we're watching Daniel Gallus. We're missing a number of drivers that still don't have a time. Daniel actually had his first lap deleted. Wonder if he just clipped somewhere a little too farther inside or outside and maybe picked up an incident out there and deleted that first lap, because he is still running here. So I wouldn't think it was an incident, because otherwise his qualifying would be over at this stage. But the Diatch driver with those bright orange gloves took us through Knickerbrook, one of the most fearsome corners in racing without that chicane, and then into Druids to finish off the lap.
Definitely. I love this racetrack, Joe. Look at all the elevation changes, and not all of them are huge hills. We have these little undulations that can really upset a car. Look at that. On exit, the track just falls away from you. You carve it up over these hills, over start finish. You can't even see turn 1 as you're coming down the front straightaway there. Just this track has a ton of character. It's got to be a really fun drive.
Absolutely. And so far, Daniel's not been able to set a lap, as both of them appear to have been deleted. Trying to see if we got anybody else able to set a time. I think Javier Mosquera is on his second lap. Freckleton is also on his second lap. We're on board. Got up to 7th with that first time at a 1:13.2. That's about 7/10 off the pole. Good enough for that 4th row currently.
You're right. Good enough for the 4th row, but what I'm noticing, it looks like our entire top 10, I'm sorry, the entire top 9 right now is within 1 second of the leader. That's a really, really stacked field. And then even then, as we go back to 10th, look at that. I'm seeing 3 cars all within 1/10 of a second of each other there for 10th, 11th, and 12th place.
Well, yeah, here in the Lotus 79s, they come out swinging. It looks like Dylan, unfortunately, swinging a little too hard as his second lap got deleted. Lowest I rating here in this top split I'm seeing is around 2,700 I rating. That's your lowest. So you got a lot of talent out there today, as it looks like our results are indeed set here for qualifying. So let's go through that starting order. It is Jukka Tolinen on the pole with Pauli Parton, and next to him, Michael de Turk will start in 3rd with Kimmo Viekainen in P4. Peter Konieczny, great qualifying for him here in 5th place. Gernot Friesche, a decent one considering his recent pace in the last couple of years, a 6th position ahead of Dylan Freckleton in P7. Tony Garcia will start from 8th. And then in the 5th row, it's Marco Salgado and Tomasz Bartfai rounding out our top 10, Joey.
Yeah, they're on row 6 and 11th place. We got Santiago Lieb and Luca Bercali there in 12th place, followed by Keith Herner and Kartik Pai. And then we got Timothy Vaughn rounding out the top 15 there in the number 10 car. Next to him is going to line up Javier Mosquera in 16th place. We got Barry West and Mark Thibault there in 18th, followed by Jean-Francois Bascos and Daniel Gallus rounding out the top 20.
And Miguel Fernandez and Armando Edwards rounds out the last of the field as the drivers now line up. And it is pretty good conditions out there today at 76 Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius for the metric folks, but a little bit windy. So watch out for that. I'm sure there's going to be a few fast corners where that is going to prove treacherous out there. So as the drivers now wait for the last of them to line up, we're seeing a lot of the front runners giving it quite a bit of time before they plop themselves on the grid. Not sure if they're making a few final tweaks to try and just get the car set up exactly how they want to deal with the conditions out there today. And you can see how the wind is blowing some of these trees. Looks like we are pretty much ready to go. Yes, indeed, everybody is out there. The engines now start to rev, the lights come up, and the green flag is out. Down into the first corner, it's a decent start for Partanen. De Turk, is going to try and go around the outside of him, but he's going to have to back out as they head through Old Hall Corner. We have one car off to the side in the wall. That's Barry West. Everybody else makes it through, Joey.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty busy there in the middle of the field. The top 5 sort themselves out single file, but oh my goodness, that is too wide racing and some old cars on a very narrow track behind them. Looks like back there for maybe 10th, 12th, 14th place.
Coming down into Shell Oil for the first time, past Island Bend. Oh, we got 3 cars off. They all managed to avoid getting into the wall, it appears. So despite huge drama there, through one of the very fast left-handers, especially on these cold tires, it seems like they managed to get away with it. Now into Knickerbrook, a few cars trying to go side by side, not seeing any offs yet amongst those. As you can watch in the background, somebody having a big moment there trying to gather up the car, but looks like we have gotten through Knickerbrook.
Looks like it's Tolanen and Partanen out front, followed by Michael De Turk with Chemo very, very close on that 4th place behind De Turk there. Looks like that's going to be the battle for position right now.
Indeed. Tolanen leads the first lap. Partanen behind him, De Turk 3rd. Viekainen very close behind there for that 3rd position. There you can see, and the Raccoon Racing purple and white as we hop on board with Chemo. Coming down into Cascades. That proved to be a difficult corner earlier on the Thursday race we covered on iRacing, which was a bit surprising. But this one right here also saw a lot of drivers suckered in through the understeer through that corner, Joey.
You're right, and we saw 3 cars go off on lap 1 right there at that spot that you just mentioned, and that understeer really caught a few cars out, but looks like these cars have got a little bit more tire temperature now. The drivers are getting in their rhythm, and they're making it around the track.
Weaving back and forth as they come over Hilltop, just getting themselves ready through Knickerbrook once again. Not seeing a whole lot of action up here at the front, because it seems that most of them are just trying to get settled in for the race. 32 laps is a long ways to go around here, and they've gotten themselves space. It does seem like the wake is proving a bit difficult through some of these fast corners as well, Joey.
You know, anytime that we deal with high downforce cars, we always have to talk about dirty air. And the closer that you get, it looks like Pie's going to have a really good run. Maybe take a look down here at turn 1 as he creeps up, taking a look at this 10th place, but thinks better of it as he dives down into turn 1. But the car in front looks a little wiggly right now. Joe, but back to your point, anytime you get into these high downforce cars, you're right, you deal with dirty air, and you have to search around for that clean air to maximize the grip on your car.
Absolutely, and as we come through Island Bend once again, we jump back to Viekainen, except in this case it's Gernot Friesche starting to get close in behind him. That's Dylan Freckleton in that train, and Peter Konechny as well. Up over Hilltop once again and down into Knickerbrook. Let's see if Gernot can stay close behind in that dirty air through that corner. Yes, it looks like it is pretty decent, but even better behind him, Freckleton with that bright pink helmet is looming ever closer.
I love all the different helmets. I think we saw a purple helmet out there. Now there's a bright pink helmet. Something you can't miss on the racetrack, even as you're going by your competitor. Anything to grab their eye, you know, get a little distraction, I'll take it.
Yeah, he's gotten very close now, probably distracting Friesche here, coming over Deerleap and into Old Hall as they send it in, way off the apex for Dylan, and all that ground that he had made up slips away.
It's going to be a little bit of an ebb and flow throughout this race today. We talked about how narrow the racetrack is. It looks like he's got a good run there. He might be taking a look down the inside. We're riding along with our leader right now, Tolanen. It's got a little bit of over half-second gap back there to P2 as we got a car off. Looks like he's going to make it to the tires. That's 4th place.
Oh, and he just noses into them. Yeah, that was Friesche, unfortunately, in the number 1. That did what I saw a lot of drivers do on Thursday, and too wide through that island bend just does not seem to work. He was on the outside, Joey, and car just didn't want to grip enough.
We mentioned the understeer earlier as we get this replay of this incident, and I think we're going to see him. He's just out on the dirty part of the track, gets off into the grass, and once you're out there, you're along for the ride.
Yeah, you can see how far he just skittered all the way out to those tires. There's only so much room that they can offer there because there's track on the other side of them, unfortunately. So just have to try and avoid damage as best you can. Meanwhile, Partanen, half a second behind Tolinen. As we mentioned, Tolinen got his first win last time out at Watkins Glen, beating Pauli Partanen. So looking to try and strike back here today, especially because we got to worry about that points battle. It's not that far from Tolinen up to Partanen right now before you get drop weeks into it. So he could actually be a serious threat.
And I'm looking at these lap times last time by. Partanen was a little bit faster than Tolinen, and then also this current lap, he's looking a little bit faster. Now, I'm only talking about a tenth of a second here, but each tenth gets you that little bit closer, and it looks a little bit more in the mirror from our leader, and all of a sudden, you're going to be tucked up in that draft and applying pressure.
Indeed. We've got battles all throughout the field, though. Looks like Boskus is going to, well, actually let Edwards by, but we look at Timothy Vaughn in the meantime, as he's currently riding underneath the rear wing of Karthik Pai. That's also Salgado just in front of him. Starting to get a sense that we're going to see a lot of these trains out here today, as drivers who are maybe not quite as fast as their competitors are not offering much of a way to overtake until they slip up. The bright yellow car, that is Karthik Pai that you're watching, and he's now getting very close to the back of Salgado.
You're right. This is a great four-car battle right now for 8th place. All four of these cars really separated by only about a quarter of a second between each one. And yeah, I think that the battles are not going to be going anywhere. We talked about it, that this racetrack is so hard to pass on. So even getting up next to another car is going to be difficult. It's almost the game of being patient, waiting for somebody to make a mistake and then capitalizing on it.
We'll see if Karthik can do that or not here as they head over Hilltop. He's got a nice little toe. Don't think it's going to be enough here. It's not a long enough straight coming up to Knickerbrook. We ride on board with the Texan. And as they fly through, yeah, once again, just struggling without that lack of grip, could not get it down to the apex.
And if I can explain that to anybody out there, it's like if you are driving your normal car in a nice sunny day and you just take a turn and everything is normal, and then all of a sudden you come up to the next turn and it's covered in snow. You turn the wheel, oh, there's a big slide out of the car in front of him. Looks like Pai is going to take that place away.
Salgado, there's the mistake that those behind him were waiting for. It was down into Lodge, and unfortunately, it cost him not just one, but 2 positions. Let's take a look and ride on board here, Joey.
Yeah, looks like Salgado was doing good, just gets loose there on entry, and around goes 1-2 cars, losing some track position from that.
So back behind Vaughn and Pai, unfortunately, and has about a second to make up if he wants to get back to them. In the meantime, it's about a second between Tolinen and Partanen as well. And then DeTurk is kind of hovering around there in the background, just kind of waiting and watching. Michael was a major factor as well in the battle for the top positions on Thursday for iRacing Happy Hour. But he proved difficult to overtake then. As we go back, this is side by side down into Knickerbrook, and they're going to be able to get away with it. This is the battle between Thibaut, Mascara, and Herner, and the 22 of Herner is the one that comes out the worst of the 3.
I want to point out some really good sportsmanship by all 3 of those drivers right there. It's not easy to go too wide on this racetrack and make passes, and they made it happen. Everybody's still pointed the right way, and the race goes on for them.
Yeah, that was 2 positions down for Keith Herner, unfortunately. Just getting checked up on the outside of Thibaut down through Knickerbrook there. Oh, but Thibaut goes off. Thibaut goes off in front of them. He's going to be slow heading down towards Cascades, but he recovers in time. He has enough of a buffer. Looks like he's not going to lose the spot.
That little mistake happened in a good place for him because he was able to regain his momentum before they hit this long straightaway here as he looks like he once again slides out wide, but able to hang on to that car. These cars are looking a little bit slippery out there.
Yeah, we did mention that it was somewhat ideal conditions. It's a little cooler, honestly. So I wonder if that is catching a few of the drivers out. They should have the tires up to temperature by now for sure, but maybe they didn't set it up for temperatures of this nature, is once again, this time single file down through Knickerbrook amongst those three. Amazingly, we still have all 22 cars running despite a few incidents at the very start. Barry West did get the car out there after some repairs, but he's 3 laps down.
Yeah, we're still looking at a full field out here, which is great for us watching. The battles are going to be continuous throughout this race. We're only working lap 9 right now of 32, so not even a third of the way through this race. Just everybody getting into the rhythm. We're right on board with Jukka Tolvanen right now, our current leader. Looking back at Partanen in second place, he's not letting him go. It's only been about a 3/4 of a second gap between first and second place this whole race.
Yeah, last time by, Partanen was just a little bit quicker, but we could see there from the onboard that Pauli was squirming under power. So he's pushing hard just to keep up here and try to keep Tolvanen honest. That makes you wonder if he does actually manage to catch him, will he even have enough to try and attack him?
And then don't forget about that third place car, Michael de Turk. He's just kind of looming right there in the background, that if these front two do get to battling, he's going to be right there to pick up the pieces if it ends in tears.
Indeed, de Turk looking for another victory. He's had a scant few here and there, but that's perhaps one of his strengths, is the fact that he tends to kind of just sit there and be there at the right time. Like you said, he picks up the pieces. And if anybody is going to have any problems, he's going to be the one to try and capitalize. As we once again move back to Karthik Pai, with Timothy Vaughn still close behind in this battle for 9th place. They are both up 5 positions from the start, so don't say it's impossible to make up spots out here.
No, we've seen some good passing going already, but I think I always like to mention give and take. And as a competitor, you have to have give and take. When you know it's not your time, you got to give a little bit, because it's going to come back to you at the end of the race. And it's also called respect out there. And once people see that you're respectful of them racing, they're going to race you back the same way. And that's what makes everybody finish the race.
Absolutely. And this is definitely going to be a bit of a game of survival. At a track like this. Kind of surprised that we've gone this far without anybody really wrecking out. In fact, I think we did have another spin for Daniel Gallus into Shell Oil. Just went off on his own, got turned around, and then he's back on the track now. Meanwhile, look at how close the 10 is starting to get to the back of Karthik Pai. So is the 4 going to succumb to the pressure here? Is he going to be able to hold up to this for what is still 2/3 of the race to go?
Looks like he gets pretty loose out of turn 1 there. And yeah, we mentioned it's just so difficult to pass. We really see Timothy Vaughn suck up in the slipstream here. I'm sure we're going to see it again down this back straightaway here. But once he gets there, he just has nowhere to go. And you know, Karthik Pai here in 9th place is just parking it right in the middle of the road, doing exactly what he needs to do to keep onto his 9th position.
Be flawless. That is going to be key out there today, trying to keep mistakes from happening if you're the leading car, so that you don't give up the spot, because even a tiny little off can maybe allow them to try and sneak through. They successfully navigate their way past Knickerbrook, but this is the lapped car of Barry West, who with his experience is going to stay out of the way. But look at how much even that tiny little hiccup caught up Vaughn to Pai there. And they've got Tomasz Bartfai in front of them. That's not a lapped car. That is 4 position. But man, that just the tiniest of distractions, and Timothy was able to gain a couple tenths there.
You took the words out of my mouth, Joe. All of a sudden, this has been a 3-car battle now, as Bartfai has that gap has just closed up, and now it's a battle for 8th place between Thomas Bartfai, Karthik Pai, and Timothy Vaughn, as they're going to be going down into one of the longest straightaways on this racetrack. I feel like the draft is going to close them up even closer.
No doubt. This is a flat-out section, almost flat out here through Island Bend. Timothy Vaughn is going to hold on to it, but he can't get close enough to attack into the heavy braking of Shell Oil. As they fly up and around over a hilltop once again, he keeps threatening, he keeps looming in the mirrors of that bright yellow number 4 machine of Karthik Pai. But Pai is kind of stuck in an odd place now, because not only is he having to defend, but he's having to attack at the same time.
It's definitely a little bit of an odd position because if you maybe take a move to fake somebody out, the car behind you can actually take advantage and slide up the inside. But once again, we're seeing these cars get so nose to tail but have nowhere to go in any of these passing zones. You really got to wait for that mistake and then make your move. But oh my gosh, it's close going into turn one.
Oh, yeah, that car's coming alive. Karthik Pai looks very fast at this stage, but he has to back out of it coming through Old Hall. That's one of the things we haven't touched on yet, Joey, the fact that these cars have the same fuel from start to end, and the change in the way that they handle from the beginning to the end of the race is so dramatic.
Yeah, that's going to have to be something that all of these drivers adapt to as they continue to race nose to wing out there. I don't think that Timothy Vaughn can really get tucked up under Karthik Pai anymore.
Yeah, he is practically touching that gearbox at stages, but Karthik, who was closing in on Tomas, is suddenly fallen away himself. He's got to get right back on the horse here as they both sling it through Knickerbrook and then up and over Clay Hill. He is right there to try and snag it if he can just maybe get to the inside. I almost wonder if he's not going to wait for a mistake. If he's going to try and go on the attack here, he could try and sucker him in.
It certainly looks like Timothy Vaughn is aggressive out there right now, and maybe his setup is just working a little bit better behind these cars when it's in dirty air than Karthik Pai's is when he's behind Bartfai in front of him, and he's just capitalizing on that. But right now it seems like it's an ebb and flow between these three cars as now Karthik Pai has the run on our 8th place car.
Yep, so the ebb and the flow keeps switching back and forth amongst these three. And we just want to give a quick shout out to Timothy Reed and Miko Leno out there because we understand they're both under the weather and unfortunately unable to participate today. And as someone recently having recovered from COVID, I can completely empathize. So we wish you guys well and hope we get to see you out on track again. In the meantime, we head back to Partanen. It's down to half a second, so he's closed in.
He definitely has closed in. I'm looking at that last lap time of a 1:13.1 out there. That's a full 0.2 faster than our leader, Tolanen. And I think the battle for the lead here is just upon us.
Well, we said the cars tend to change as the race goes on, and some of that comes down to setup. I wonder if Partanen has a car that's a little stronger late in the day here. Is he going to try and pick it up and be able to go on the attack now that the car is really coming into its own?
You're right, and what I've noticed too is they've ditched third place Michael de Turk back there. He's almost 4 seconds back from this lead as we ride on board with 10th place Timothy Vaughn. Looks like this battle has gone nowhere, and these three cars are still super glued to each other and just kind of waiting for that spot to open up and make a lunge.
Timothy Vaughn riding on board with this dark blue number 10, just behind Karthik Pai, who's got to be just absolutely perfect in this chess match. He cannot expose himself or else Vaughn is going to try and snatch that up at the nearest opportunity. Look at them weaving across the track. He feels under threat. Does Tomas Bartfai having to go defensive for the first time in a Knickerbrook?
He definitely was over on the defensive line. He was feeling the heat from that yellow car of Pai behind him, but look at this. That really opens up the door for Vaughn to now catch up to Pai. This is a total chess game right now. You have to place your car where you need it, but also maximize your speed because look at these hungry wolves behind you that are just licking their teeth right now.
Oh, and I think we had one of our first victims at Knickerbrook, Keith Herner, has unfortunately spun out there, thankfully wound up off the track and out of the way. Didn't hit anything, but he's back on in 17th. Oh, this is getting mighty close now. Just hovering back and forth. That gearbox view from Tomas Bartfai really showed us how close Karthik is getting now.
You're right. Karthik was right on the back bumper there. I think I saw that 8th place car make a little bit of a mistake out of turn 1, get up in the grass, and that's really what allowed that yellow car of Pai to tuck up behind, but looks like they spread out just a little bit. Now, I mean a little bit, what is this, about 1/10 of a second, maybe 1/10 and a half, as it looks like Pai gets another great draft going down into Knickerbrook again.
It seems like this is a strong spot for that yellow number 4 car, and Maybe he's going to try and jump on it eventually here as we come back to Partonen. Also worth noting, I've been watching Dylan Freckleton. He's been on the charge on Viekainen as well for 4th place. So keep an eye on that tower on the left-hand side. He could try and attack on the Raccoon Racing driver at any moment, as Partonen still hovers at about 0.3 of a second now. This is the closest they've been in some time, and that looked like a little bit of a slip-up coming through Shell Oil.
Definitely looked like our leader got a little bit wide, but was able to close it right back down to a late apex and kind of capitalize coming off of the corner. But Partonen right up on the back bumper right now, taking this fight to the lead to Tolinen. And what I'm seeing out of our 2 car, which is also 2nd place, is it looks maybe like he's a little bit more knife edge going to the power, which is allowing his car to turn better. But we'll see if it stays consistent throughout the course of the run.
Uh-oh, here comes a little bit of a wrench in things. Fernandez, who is a lapped car in that number 16. Is he going to be able to get out of the way? Looks like he's trying to stay up. Yep, look at that. Brilliant stuff. And in fact, he's pulling into pit lane. I wonder if he had an issue this most recent lap and is going to have to come in for repairs for something. We'll try and investigate that in a little bit. But in the meantime, Armando Edwards, does he just make a pass? No, he got past, it looks like, as Gernot Friesche went by him into Knickerbrook. So Gernot back up to 14th, still trying to recover after he went off earlier in this race.
The pressure that our leader has been under all races, pretty immense right now. And if I'm to kind of put it into a little bit of a term, it's like when you're paying for your coffee and you're trying to pick out all your change, you know, and somebody's just standing right there behind you, putting pressure on you. That's what this guy is doing every single lap, and you got to pick it out and do it perfect every time.
Yeah, and Tolinen looks like he's handling it well. Partonen has been just right there, and yet I haven't seen major slip-ups from the 3, just that little bit of a wide moment that we saw before out of Jukka Tolinen. But it's going to be hard to try and make a fin crack in most cases as we go side by side here. This is Freckleton and Viekainen, and Freckleton gets the spot. Great stuff coming through Druids.
That was a fantastic move by Freckleton there. Looks like he's going to put on the afterburners and leave them in the dust now as we get a replay of this great move.
Watch this. This is great here from above. Watch Viekainen here in the purple and white. He's actually going to have a heck of a moment here on the outside, almost losing the car. Just about one wheel in the dirt and somehow keeps it from spinning out. Viekainen is still running in 5th.
You called it. That was a huge moment for Viekainen there, but kept it all on the racetrack as we ride along on 11th place there. But I want to point out that both of those cars left room for each other. That was fantastic to see, and the battle goes on.
Meanwhile, we've got Marc-Antoine Thibault and Marco Salgado fighting for a top 10 here. Remember, we saw Salgado have a little bit of an off earlier on when he was fighting with Karthik Pai. And that has definitely changed around. Now, what happened to Timothy Vaughn? He is suddenly behind them. When did he lose positions? Did we miss that?
Yeah, I think we missed that. I think I see him all the way back in 12th place right now, a full 33 seconds off of our leader. See if we can get a replay maybe of what happened to Vaughn. He was caught up in this 3rd place battle for 8th place that we were following so closely. It looks like everybody dives down into turn 1, comes out of 1, and oh no, contact out of 1 that sends them both around.
Synchronized spinning, both of them 360, but Pai able to recover quicker, and that is why Vaughn is where he is right now. Great job to our producer there as Ryan picked that one up. And wow, Timothy Vaughn maybe getting a little too close for comfort as he got into the gearbox of Karthik Pai. Back to Partonen now on screen, 0.2 of a second away at times, getting ever closer. But it is 13 laps to go. We are past the halfway point in this race. What does Partonen have to do at this stage, Joey? Does he have to go on the attack or should he stay patient?
He needs to stay patient. Now, we're mentioning only 13 laps to go. We're building a little bit of excitement here, but that's a lot of racing. You know, these guys are doing about 1:13. In fact, last time, Paulie was in the 112s that last lap, back up to a 113.1 this lap, but he's definitely got the wick turned up. I would stay patient. There's still plenty of racing time left. Just kind of leave the carrot out there and see what mistakes he can do for you.
Hal is the only one who has broken under the 113s in this race here. So fastest lap naturally going to the number 2 currently, which is important. That is 2 bonus points right there. Although Tolinen took the 2 bonus points that you get for a pole position as well. So that kind of evens out between them if it stays as is with Partanen on that fastest lap. But you can see there, it does seem like Partanen is kind of back and forth on whether or not he is quicker. Some of that I got to think by the due to the fact that he doesn't have any place to take that speed right now. But I'm getting the impression, Joey, that Paulie is the faster of the 2.
I think you're right. You know, he's been able to be there in the dirty air all race. And not only the dirty air, but a car in front of you taking away visual cues to really pick out your brake markers, pick out your turn-in points, your apexes. So it's just a distraction up there for you, as it looks like Jukka Tolinen now sets the fastest lap of the race at a 112.88, but don't let that fool you. Paulie is right there at a 112.94, only about 0.06 of a second separating those two on that last lap.
So Jukka responding now, showing he can go just as fast as that number 2 machine. And we mentioned it earlier, but for those wondering, Michael the Turk is about 6 seconds behind. He is nowhere to be seen. In fact, yeah, we're not even seeing him in the background of our shots at this point. That's how far he's fallen off and how hard these two are pushing currently. In fact, Michael's fastest lap is about a half second slower than these two's fastest lap right now. My goodness, Gernot Friesche is really hustling the car and is caught up to Mosquera.
I love seeing the yaw angles on these cars. A lot of the modern cars, we don't really get yaw or sliding, drifting, if you call it. But in these older cars with the older tire models, they really moved around so much. And iRacing has done a great job to replicate that here in the simulator. And we see cars with their open setups, maybe a little bit more on knife edge or maybe a little bit more towards understeer and consistency, but that's the beauty of it. Each person drives a little bit differently. You can tweak your car a little differently, and over the course of the run, it has a personality and you got to tame it.
Speaking of personality, we actually got to see a little bit of Gernot's here on the channel as he recently made an appearance on Where Is Mick? So check out a couple episodes ago and you can see him in the flesh. And well, is he going to be able to overtake Mosquera here? He thinks about it, but Javier just turns in that little bit early, denying Gernot the chance.
Really good battle as they come up over the front straight, and they're going to dive down into turn 1 another time. Not close enough to make a move, but really this is where you start to set everything up, kind of get up in the draft, plan your momentum out of what is turn 2, turn 3 here down into this long straightaway. But looks like he gets a little out wide and maybe not as quite close as he wants to be to potentially make a move.
And again, he's a veteran in this game, so he knows how this all works. He's going to try and bide his time until he finds the right moment. But look at this. Back to our leaders once again. Still separated by about 2 to 3 car lengths between them, right down to the apex. Pauli Partanen using every inch of the track. Down to 9 laps to go now for these two. They're ticking off quick, both of them, all the way up to the curb on the exit of Cascades. Partanen looking like he's falling back a couple more car lengths now. So maybe needs to try and recover through some of that wake behind Tolinen here. And these two have been just glued at the hip all race long. I'd be curious to hear their thoughts afterwards, as we've had a problem with Keith Herner now. And I think this may have been Knickerbrook for the second time. Yes, it was. He already had a spin there once. This time, though, he actually found the wall.
Yeah, unfortunate there. We ride along board with Timothy Vaughn as he tries to make his way back up through the field. If you remember, he had that little bit of an incident that we highlighted earlier. Now he's tucked back up on the 11th place car of I believe that's Marco Salgado there in front of him. think that Timothy Vaughn might have a little bit of speed just based off of what we saw earlier, but once again, the story of the race, it's a really narrow racetrack, not very many passing opportunities, and you got to capitalize on others' mistakes.
I liked what Timothy was doing, though, there. It looked like he was really squaring off that hairpin, so maybe he's trying to think a few corners ahead as we go to replay, and actually Vaughn is side by side now. I think this is with Keith Herner's incident, and then maybe a little bit we'll check out the pass that Vaughn just made. And there is the slide, and unfortunately just finds the tires.
You know, that is so easy to do. The natural reaction when the car starts to slide is really counter steers. We get this replay of Timothy Vaughn. If we watch the car in front of Salgado here, it just gets loose coming through that same corner we just saw, loses his momentum. Timothy with a great run around the outside, and which is going to set him up for the inside here coming up into this next corner.
I think Marco looked like he lifted a little bit there. I think he figured, you know what, I just want to finish this race. Let's not risk this one, and let Timothy have it eventually there. Meanwhile, let's see, coming to 7 to go now for Tolinen as he exits out of Lodge and through Deer Leap. Look at how much that valley dips and then crests there as it comes onto the front stretch. And they once again cross the line. Fastest lap still in the hands of Tolinen, both of them breaking the best lap that time, but Tolinen a little bit more.
I'm not even going to call it a mistake, but I'm going to call it a misstep out of our second place car, Partonen. Coming out onto the front straightaway that last time, got a little bit wide. That was the first time I've seen him dip a wheel behind the leader. We're on board here with Gernot Friche here in 14th place. Got a car right in front of him for position here of Javier Mosquera. It looks like this actually might be a 3-car battle. Oh, I believe that's a lap car they're going to go by right now.
Yep. That was just, I think that was Fernandez letting them through there, so didn't want to get in the way. Starting to think that Partonen might be feeling a little bit of deja vu all over again. And I'm starting to think that Partonen might be feeling a bit of deja vu all over again. This is looking exactly like last week at Watkins Glen, him chasing Jukka Tolinen. So I wonder if he's going to get sick of this view and try to do something a little drastic. Oh no, speaking of drastic, Gernot Friese into the back of that was Mosquera, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit of a front to back incident, and both Mosquera and him go around. Mosquera gets the worst of that incident. Yeah, and
excuse me, he did not make contact. That was Javier spinning on his own, actually. And a great avoidance from Gernot. He's probably had his heart in his throat on this one. Look at that.
Yes, you called it, Joe. That was just a spin by Mosquera out front, and then you're right, off to the outside of the track, but hey, no damage, no cars collected.
Yep, Gernot gets 13th place. Not quite the way that I think he anticipated. Hopefully the car is not damaged from that off-track excursion, because he still has Armando Edwards not that far behind him at this moment. And, well, Partonen, after spending so long right behind Tolinen, is suddenly dropping back. I don't know if this is intentional or if he is actually losing pace here.
I think, looking at the last lap time, really, Jukka has been up on the wick. He had a 1:12.7, 1:12.8, 1:12.6, and here's Partonen back there. He's not ouch, but it was a 1:13.1, and now a 1:12.9, picking it up. But once again, that's a full 0.3 off of what Yuka's last lap time was. I think Jukka just might have turned on the afterburners now.
We're hearing that we might have had a Pauly hit one of the curbs on the inside of Knickerbrook, and these cars do not like climbing over curbs necessarily, especially very tall ones, since they want the bottom of the car to really stay suction cupped to the ground. So I wonder if he did a little bit of damage or something, maybe climbing over that, because you can do that to these things.
The other thing we've been talking about is these cars have been glued at the hip all race. And now we might think that Pauly had a little bit of a pace advantage earlier on, but we're only talking about a 1/10 of a second, maybe 2/10 at most from what we've seen. And when you lose a little bit of a time just off of a mistake, it could even just be a misstep right there. It takes a little bit to crawl back up into that fight.
Let's see if he's got the determination to do so, because they're coming down to 4 laps to go here pretty soon. There's still a mighty 10 seconds ahead of Michael de Turk, so they've really got no threat from behind. Partonen Just has to worry about his own race here to see if he can catch up. Last time through, they were almost dead even at 12.6s, actually. So, and no, excuse me, it was 2/10s quicker for Partonen, actually. So he was faster, and he gained a little bit of time that time across, did Partonen. But they're going to have some lap traffic. Santiago Lieb is unfortunately at a little bit of a bad spot for Partonen coming through Shell Oil. Now he's going to be able to get by a little bit more easily, but the damage has been done. It's up to 1.2 seconds now.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of a hurdle there for our second place car to get around that lap car. You know, I don't think he affected him too much, but it was just enough to grow that gap, maybe another half second, which is huge here with only 4 laps to go.
So as they come through Druids, they still got more lap traffic. Fernandez going to stay out of the way. Tolinen able to get through. Think this should actually be very good timing, because Fernandez should be able to pull off to the side for Partonen as well here. And yes, he does. So that's not going to hold them up, but it's still expanding. It's up to 1.4 seconds now that they hit the 3 to go mark. I really think that unless something dramatic happens to Jukka Tolinen, it's looking like this is his race to lose.
If I'm on the radio with Tolinen, I'm just telling him, don't even look in those mirrors. Turn them off right now. Just hit your marks out front. There's no pressure from behind. Do your thing. Go out there and do laps. And if I'm on the radio for Partonen right now, I'm saying, hey, you know what? We only got 3 laps to go. I need qualifying laps out of every single corner that you've got. We've got a 10-second gap back to third place. We can afford a few mistakes, but we can't afford a car in the wall.
Coming through Knickerbrook once again. Both of them right up to the edge of those curbs. And they're going to get the 2 to go mark here pretty soon. Partonen has to close back in. It was up to 1.4. It's down to 1.1, 1.2 now. So he's trying. He's giving it his everything. It was a bit of a slower lap for Pauli last time at a 13.1. Let's see what it is this time as they cross the line. Tolinen with a 12.8, Partonen with a 12.6. 2/10s quicker once again. But will it be too little, too late?
We had a little bit of a lockup from our leader and Jukka going down into turn 1. That's going to bring Partonen in this battle ever closer. Once again, they're going to go rocket down this back straightaway here. And from what it looks like, Partonen has now got the draft effect. That's really going to suck him up closer to our leader as they go down these straightaways hard into the brake zone. Looks like he actually slid out wide a little bit right there, which might cost him on exit, but I think he's still close enough that he might still smell that draft just a little bit.
Just a bit, but I'm not sure that it's going to be able to counteract the dirty air that he's also probably experiencing now that he's gotten closer. Once again, the white flag awaits in Barney's hands as he gets ready to wave it for Jukka Tolinen. It's down to 0.6 of a second. Tolinen just has to be steady here to the end. More lap traffic. Barry West up in front of them. West knows the game, though. He stays out of the way for both cars, and they're able to get through. White flag is out. It's down to 0.5 of a second.
Both of these cars go barreling into turn 1 for the last time. They both get out on the grass a little bit. It's all about maximizing this drive out of turn 2 here, down onto the straightaway. Looks like both our leader and Partonen get a good drive. The time is running out for Partonen right now. Only a couple more spots to make a move.
Yeah, he's really going to have to get desperate here if he wants that spot. He's going to have to be a lot closer than this. Both of them trying to square off the exit, but if you're Partonen, you go a little too wide, and he loses time now. Tolinen ever farther out of reach from Pauli Partonen. We wondered if the floodgates would open if Tolinen finally gets that victory. And after last week's win at Watkins Glen, he's a couple corners away from making it back-to-back here this season for his first 2. Partonen still within about 0.7 of a second, so Jukka cannot slip up here. He has to be picture perfect and not give away an inch. Down through Lodge, he spins up the rears just a little bit, but it is a minor mistake considering the fact that he has won a lights to flag victory here at Oulton Park.
Amazing drive from Oulton out front. We're going to catch the battle for 8th place right now between Thomas Bartfai, Karthapai, and Mark Thibault. This battle is still raging on. Oh my goodness, a look down into Knickerbrook. Just a couple millimeters separating all three of these cars.
Can't do anything wrong here. You got to be right on the racing line. Bartfai leading the group. He takes a wide entry, but it helps him on the exit. Pai could still try something, and I think Tomas knows that. He covers it first, then he leaves the door open. They almost come together, and Pai has to get out of it. That opens it up for Thibault to sneak on through, and Bartfai is going to be 8th, Thibault 9th. Pai loses a spot in the last corner to at least finish in the top 10. What a great race today. Incredible stuff amongst our leaders. Ooh, and Vaughn just had a slip up right at the end. Salgado's going to get by him for 11th as well. Tolanen takes the win, but we'll come back to the official results as well as driver interviews very shortly, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings, where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Oulton Park. Round 6 is done, and we are halfway through the season for the Sunday Grand Prix Series. And Jukka Tolanen has suddenly become a force to be concerned about if you're hoping for the championship. He's taken back-to-back wins. This might even put him up into second in the points after today. Partanen followed him home for the second week in a row, unable to overtake as Michael de Turk wound up in third spot. Dylan Freckleton finished P4. Bit of a somewhat quiet race, but had great battles out there, managing to get by Viekainen with a fantastic pass. In the meantime, Viekainen rounds out your top 5. You've got Konechny finishing 6th, Tony Garcia in 7th, Vas Bartfai collecting points there in that F2 championship, getting in 8th place. Marc-Antoine Thibault with a late race pass up in a 9th was going by Karthik Pai, who rounds out your top 10 here, Joey.
Yeah, it looks like they're in 11th place. Just behind that fantastic 3-car battle is Marco Salgado there. And then Timothy Vaughn was in the wars today, comes home 12th. Gernot Friche, once again, we saw him going out, making quite a few passes, comes home 13th. Armando Edwards and Javier Mascara, once again, rounding out the top 15. Jean-Francois Boscus in 16th. Luca Bercali, followed by Santiago Lieb. Keith Herner, and then in your top 20 is Daniel Gallus.
Fernandez and West, unfortunately, multiple laps down, but they did see the checkered flag. Amazing at a track known for attrition. We had every single runner finish this race, including Jukka Tolinen, who took the victory here today for the second week in a row. Jukka, I'm curious how much of today's win comes back to just finally breaking that duck last week, and how much of it was the experience that you had during Thursday's happy hour race?
Yeah, well, must say that I'm, not feeling that much pressure anymore, as the first win is now there. And, the pace was good right away, I would say, after first Monday practice. And, of course, the happy hour race on Thursday gave me some confidence. But this was easily the most difficult race this week, as Pauli was in my mirrors all the time. So you know that it's just one little mistake and you may lose it right away. Pauli is such a good driver, and he wasn't even driving before Friday or something, I believe. So amazing driver. He just practices a fraction of what I do, and then almost beats me, and I really have to give everything. So yeah, but yeah, currently feeling really good. I can actually enjoy leading the race instead of stressing it out like earlier. So yeah.
Well, and you talk about that psychological side of things. I know it's sort of a joke and a stereotype that the Finns are all cool and emotionless and you can't break them. But how much of that has played into your sim racing career? Do you find yourself having to work on the mental aspect of it just as much as the skill out on the track?
Well, on some level, I believe this proves that it's also mental side that affects. If I now suddenly win 3 kind of big races in a row after the first one, so I guess that's kind of proof for it. So you will have to just trust yourself and not stress too much about the winning and keep doing your own stuff. So I have been kind of doubting myself all the time and thinking that what others are doing differently and so on. But funny thing here is that I was using basically exactly same setup that I was using here last time. So very minor changes only, and nothing else really have changed, but just that I drive faster.
That simple, right? Well,
yeah.
Next time out, we start the second half of the season, and suddenly you're becoming a bit of a factor here in the championship. Are you thinking about that at all, or you're trying to put that out of your head?
Probably just trying to not think about it. Timo still has huge lead, and I know that he can absolutely destroy us when he has time and he wants to do it. So yeah, I'm expecting to see some tight fights, and I hope we can get tight fights as well. It's really enjoyable. So my biggest goal for the rest of the season is to just enjoy the racing now that I have kind of achieved my goal for this season and the goal for the last 4 seasons or something. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Well, I love that attitude. Just get out there and enjoy yourself. Congratulations, anybody you want to thank for another win today.
Well, Pauli, of course, as always, and Michael did also really well today after all kinds of struggles in life recently, and Kimmo was also practicing, and Timo was also practicing with me early in the week. So yeah, thanks.
Good stuff there from Jukka Tolvanen taking another victory today. But Joey has caught up with the man that was in his mirrors all race long, Pauli Partanen.
Pauli, first of all, congratulations on the second place finish tonight. You and Jukka put on one heck of a show. What was that last little bit that you were missing that you needed to take it to Jukka for that race win?
Yeah, I think it was skill. I like a bit of that, but yeah, it was good race. I was very close to Jukka whole race, and I think I had the pace to overtake him, but man, this track was very slippery, and also it's almost impossible to overtake in dirty area. You lose so much downforce here, so it's very hard. You need to find a mistake from the other guy, and as like in last week, Jukka didn't make any mistakes, so amazing try from him, and I'm very happy that he won.
It's funny that you mentioned that. We were talking about it during the show that we really have to wait for a mistake out of a car in front. Did you feel that you were faster anywhere on the track than Jukka, that you could maybe go up there and pressure him and make a move anywhere?
Yeah, hard to say. Maybe in that double right-hander, maybe there I was a bit faster than Jukka, but not really fast enough. You know, Jukka knows this track very well and drives very fast, so he doesn't make that much of a mistake that I could really use, but there were some moments that I was very close. So if then Jukka would have made some mistakes, then I would be able to pass him. But yeah, like I said, he didn't make any mistakes.
It's pretty funny listening to you two. You guys love to compliment each other. He had nothing but compliments for you, and you have nothing but compliments for Jukka. It's great to watch you guys battle it out there on the racetrack. Next up, we do have Phillip Island as the next circuit you guys are going to. Do you feel a little bit stronger there, about the same?
Well, I know Jukka loves that track, so I don't hate it. It's good track, but I know Jukka likes it very much, so will be hard to beat him, and he beat me last week and this week, so I need to step up my game if I want to challenge him properly. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
Well, that might be a little bit of insight for the racers here upcoming. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you wanted to say hi to or say thank you to?
Yeah, very much big thank you to Jukka. Like I think Jukka said that I didn't really practice this week, so it helped me a lot that he gave me a setup tips, and also I was able to check his telemetry before the race, so I knew where I was losing time, and I got some tenths before the race broadcast. So huge thanks to Jukka, because without him I would be easily way behind him. So big thanks to him, and also big thanks to Timo and Kimmo. We were yesterday in real life karting, and it was super fun. So thanks to you guys also, and thanks for Michael for everything he has ever done. Thanks.
Always happy to hear people get out and get on the real racetrack. I believe that we have our third place finisher, Michael de Turk, standing by with Joe Peak.
Indeed we do. Michael, maybe not as thrilling of a race out there, but I'm sure it's just hard enough, Michael, to drive this track by yourself. Were you content to hold that third place and focus on not dying out there?
Yeah, definitely, especially after the race I had on Thursday.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, because that was very cool to get to see iRacing highlight these cars. And I know you are a big part behind the scenes helping organize a lot of the community. What are your thoughts having gotten that opportunity to really get to show off what this community is about to the rest of the iRacing world?
You know, in this case, I think I speak for the whole Lotus 79 community when I say what a pleasure it was to be on stream for iRacing's happy hour and to have you and Jake call the race. I think it was a great showcase for the car. It gave a lot of people a look at just how exciting the racing in this car can be, even if you're Phil Reed and on a controller like a madman.
Yeah, no kidding. That was unbelievable to see. Every time I watch him drive, just it blows my mind now. But you've been kind of doing this a lot, where you're just kind of there to pick up the pieces if something should happen to those guys. Are you expecting that eventually your time's going to come this season? You'll get another of your wins that you've kind of snatched here and there over the years?
I don't know. I mean, Yuka kind of turned it on. I think he traded his DFV in for a DFX. He's so fast right now, just blowing me away. It's like he's got a complete new gear. You know, I've only got 5. He's got 6 somehow. I don't know what's going on. But, you know, between him and Paulie just crushing everyone with the Yuka Paulie special up front, and Timo's raw pace, and a couple of the other guys like Emil and Phil Reed who jump in every now and then, it's hard to imagine with just how much people have stepped it up that I'm gonna grab another win. I'd love to, obviously, but you know, if I can pick up the pieces and keep putting consistent podiums down, I won't be upset with that.
I kind of don't blame you there. Well, again, congratulations on another podium. Anybody you want to shout out while we got you?
You guys for the great broadcast. You know, I look forward to hearing Joey call this. I think he called Camel yesterday and did a really great job. So I'm looking forward to rewatching this. You and Jake for the iRacing special event this week, as well as Sean Ambrose for getting us on the schedule for that. You know, huge thanks. Of course, thanks to Kimo for practicing with me this week. And, you know, I got to give a shout out to Yuka and Paulie for just a dominant run up front.
That was Michael DeTurk, your third place finisher here today for the Sunday Grand Prix Series. That's going to wrap us up. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to the community as well here for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And to the team today, Joey, Ryan, and Dougie, with a special thank you to Mick Claridge, who is helping us out behind the scenes. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And you can find links for those in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment as well here on GSRC. As we mentioned, the next race going to be Phillip Island, Sunday, October 30th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here, including the Majors Classic Daytona 2.4, which is starting right now. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.